How to illustrate functions.
Function is a correspondence between the domain and the range such that each element in the domain corresponds to exactly one element in the range. For example, for the equation y equals x plus 2, let's observe if we assign values to x.
If x equals 1, so y equals 1 plus 2, so y equals 3.
If x equals 2, so y equals 2 plus 2, so y equals 4.
If x equals 4, so y equals 4 plus 2, so y equals 6.
Mapping the x and y, the domain and the range respectively.
1 corresponds to 3,
2 corresponds to 4.
and 4 corresponds to 6.
This type of relation is a function for each element of the domain, corresponds to only one element in the range.
This is the case of one-to-one correspondence.
Another example, y equals 2x squared.
If x equals 1, y equals 2 times 1 squared, so y equals 2 times 1 because 1 squared is 1, so y equals 2.
If x equals -1, so y equals 2 times -1 squared, then y equals 2 times 1 since -1 squared is 1, so y equals 2. If x equals 2, then y equals 2 times 2 squared, and 2 squared is 4, so y equals 2 times 4, or y equals 8.
If x equals -2, then y equals 2 times -2 squared, and -2 squared is also 4, so y equals 2 times 4, or y equals 8.
If x equals 3, then y equals 2 times 3 squared, and 3 squared is 9, so y equals 2 times 9, or y equals 18. If x equals -3, then y equals 2 times -3 squared, and -3 squared is 9, also, so y equals 2 times 9, or y equals 18.
From these values we are going to mapping.
The domains are 1, -1, 2 and -2, 3, and -3, while the values of the range are 2, 8 and 18.
1 corresponds to 2. -1 corresponds to 2 also. 2 corresponds to 8, and -2 corresponds to 8 also. 3 corresponds to 18, and -3 corresponds also to 18. 1 is different from -1, although they have the same output, but it's specific to 2 only. This is the case of many-to-one correspondence, which is a function.
Let's have a relation which is not a function.
Example, y squared equals 2x. Simplifying by getting the square root, we have y equals positive and negative the square root of 2x. If x equals 2, then y equals positive and negative the square root of 2 times 2, or the square root of 4.
So y equals positive and -2.
If x equals 8, then y equals positive and negative square root of 2 times 8, or square root of 16. So y equals positive and -4. By mapping we have the domain or the input, 2 and 8, and the range or the output 2, -2, 4 and -4.
The input 2 corresponds to 2 and also to -2.
8 corresponds to 4 and also to -4. This means for a specific input there is no specific output because we have 2 outputs.
This is the case of one-to-many correspondence, which is not a function. Using the graph, a vertical line test can identify a function and a not function.
Y equals x plus 2 is an equation of straight line with slope 1 and intercept 2.
Using a vertical line, move vertical line on the line y equals x plus 2, and you can see that it intersects only in one point at time as it moves.
And so with the graph of y equals 2x squared, which is a parabola opening upward, the vertical line intersects only at one point at a time as it moves.
For the equation y squared equals 2x, which is a parabola opening to the right, the vertical line intersects at 2 points as it moves. This is a case of a relation that is not a function.